There's a post that's going viral right now that has a list of benefits that reads like a miracle. And it comes from a resin that has supposedly been able to kill off the ulcer bacteria, also kill off bacteria that's underneath cavities, starve candida, get rid of MRSA, resistant staph. Also, it supposedly kills the bacteria that's related to Alzheimer's. And here's a big claim. It's said to have killed 6 different forms of cancer. Now, this comes from one tree, been used for over 2,500 years, but here is one of the kickers. Most doctors have never heard about it. So here's the thing. The resin is real, it's called mastic, and it's been chewed since before the time of Rome, and Hippocrates was said to have prescribed it to his patients. And some of the list of those claims is genuinely backed by science. But that post seems to have been confusing people because of the way some of the experimentation was done. So we're going to dig into how the experimentation was done, discuss the claims, and so that you can get a proper way to read those health threads to make the decision for yourself. I'm Dr. Chris Motley, and today we're going to separate what mastic gum actually does to the human body as compared to what is found in an experiment lab, because those are not the same thing, and it can make a big difference on how you approach this. So let's dive into the story behind this little resin, how impressive it is, and let's talk about how the experimentations were done so you can make a decision for yourself. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Ancient Health Podcast, where East meets West in the world of medicine. I'm Dr. Chris Motley. Let's bridge the gap between ancient practices and cutting-edge medicine. Let's get started. So what is mastic gum? It's gained a lot of popularity within the last few months because of that viral post, but I have seen patients bring it into the office for a couple of years. And the patients have brought this in for oral health and digestive health, and they brought it to me in the form of a capsule or a chewing gum. Capsules are created by brands such as Zuma, and there's chewing gum that is very popular known as Greco gum. Now, I'm not supporting them or being endorsed by them. But when I saw this come into the office, I was really interested. I've heard about it in the past, but I started to research the story behind it. And when I heard these viral posts, it brought those feelings up again. I wanted to talk about it. And mastic gum comes from a tree that is found on an island in the Greek islands known as chios. And the tree, when you scratch the bark, it releases a resin. And it drips down like teardrops. And when the sun hits it, it turns into this translucent type of resin. And so in the olden days, they would take the resin and they would chew on it. And it's been written about in the writings of Hippocrates, how he prescribed it to his patients for certain health issues. Also in the writings of Galen. And it has been known to be chewed for more than 2,500 years. And that's even before the times of Rome. And the benefits, what have been written about, have been pretty astounding. And I've got a list here of the different types of acids and essential oils that are found within the mastic gum that have had huge health benefits. A few of them: marolic acid, oleanonic acid, the essential oils of alpha-pinene or beta-myrcene, verbenone, linalool. Those are really confusing words, but I think it's really awesome, really cool about how the researchers, when they pulled it into the lab, they found that these compounds had effect on human physiology. Again, I want to preface this as well. I'm not saying I back all the claims that I mentioned in the intro. I just want to discuss it with you because I have seen within my patients that it has benefit to their digestion and also to their oral cavity. I have seen that. And there is science that is backing some of those claims. But when you have a post that talks about it with such strong claims, many individuals are going to think it kind of sounds like snake oil. So I wanted to give you a fair comparison about how it's seen with use as compared to experimentation and how they experimented with these compounds in the mastic gum. I don't want you to think I'm trying to be too one-sided with the Mastic Gum. I've seen good benefits, but I want to try to be pretty objective today, okay? So when you do smell the resin, it has a nice pine smell to it, almost like cypress. And when you think about how it was used in the Mediterranean, we think about all the foods and all the delicious meals you get from a Mediterranean cuisine and how they used olive oil and they used rosemary. They used different types of spices in their food, and it was very healthy. It was beneficial. They used food as medicine. So we see in the diets of Mediterranean people, and it's used all over the world in Greek restaurants and Lebanese, all these different types of meals, that there was a definite health benefit to that type of diet. So when you hear about the writings of Hippocrates and you see that this was used in that particular area, you really want to pay attention. And I think that when we look at mastic gum, we have to remember that if they were using it for thousands of years, there must be some kind of truth to it, some validity. That's where we actually get the word masticate, to chew from. And people have been chewing this for medicine since the time before Rome. So as you chew the resin, it gets softer and it breaks open those compounds. Your body absorbs more of them as you chew more. And if you do take a capsule, it just releases right into your digestive system. So if you've ever used it, I do want you to send me some comments. Let me know how it's helped you. But for those people who have never tried it, here's some research. Let's get into it. Now, here's the tricky part about all those amazing claims. They come from experimentation that is done in a lab, in vitro, in a glass dish, not necessarily within a human body. That's what makes it so confusing. Now, I'm not saying it's not beneficial, because many of the things that we accept are experiments that are done in vitro, such as bleach killing bad cells, bacteria, or certain types of sanitizer killing MRSA, staph that are found on doorknobs. All of these things are done in vitro, and we trust them. So I'm not saying there's no validity to it, but it hasn't really been done on a human being. Now, there was a really interesting experiment and research done at the New England Journal of Medicine, and they talked about how mastic gum killed off H-Pylori. Now, H-Pylori being the bacteria that causes ulcers, causes indigestion, but that experiment itself was done in a glass dish. Now, when they tested it later on mice and then humans, there was mixed results. So as we study this, how things are done in vitro in person, you may have mixed results because a dish is a very controlled setting. When you're talking about a human body, you have many things to take into account. You have the pH balance within the person's gut. You have pre-existing microflora in different amounts, such as strep or Klebsiella, Clostridium bacteria, staph. All those can be in different ratios within a person's gut. And if you are just taking H. pylori by itself and then dumping mastic gum on it, its only target is to kill the H. pylori. If you have a lot of other bacteria competing for space in the gut, you may have mixed results, and that's just basic commonsensical. So we see where the argument comes from. If the mastic cell kills a bacteria within a dish, it's not necessarily going to do the same thing within a human body. However, even though most of the research was done in a lab in a glass dish, the easiest place that they could test if mastic gum could take an immediate effect was in the oral area. Very easy to test, because you can test bacteria by taking a swab and rubbing it around the gums or the cheeks. That's how they test for strep. And they can also culture any bacteria around the teeth or around areas of cavities, even around the tongue. And there's many different forms of bacteria that reside in the mouth, around the gum line. And so as easily as they could put mastic gum in a glass dish, they could throw mastic gum in the mouth and have you chew it for a period of time, like 20 minutes. It's a very easy experimental point. And they were finding that people who were chewing it had a measurably lower amount or population of bacteria within the oral cavity. And so it's not hard to reason out that if you chew a resin that has antimicrobial components or compounds in it, and you're bathing your teeth in it, you could have some of the cleanest mouth in the world. And that's what the experimentation was showing on real live humans. So the mouth gave the researchers an indication of what could be going down inside of the digestive system, because you get immediate effects within the mouth. You don't have to go through a whole process of digestion through the gut. So if you do have some skeptic feelings about mastic gum, there is direct research about how well it cleans out the mouth. And I've had few patients, 2 patients in particular, where they did have problems with an overgrowth of different bacteria that was causing cavity-like symptoms. There are many now biological dentists within the area around Nashville, around Franklin, where I'm from. And the biological dentists are very open to the idea of mastic gum. And the doctor, the dentist, could send me and send the patient a report that shows the population. And with those patients, there was a reduction of the bacteria after they were chewing mastic gum for more than 3 months. And so they were stopping the cavity formation. Now, I'm not saying it gets rid of cavities. I'm saying it gets rid of the bacteria that could create cavities. I was really impressed with this. And for any of you out there that are suffering with oral hygiene issues, whether it's bad breath, whether it's coating on the tongue from yeast and bacteria, whether it's even sores on the inside of the mouth, if you have gum issues, I want you to give this a shot. Try it and see for yourself, because the best critic is you. And there have, from research, been no known bad side effects. And it actually has a really pleasant scent to it. It has like a pine scent to it, a little bit like cypress. So if you think it may not work, why not give it a try? I've seen it with these 2 patients where it did make a remarkable difference in them, and that's the only thing they changed. They didn't change their diet, they didn't change their brushing habits, they didn't change the toothpaste. All they did was do mastic gum. But here's a real interesting fact, and here's a headline that is often underplayed about mastic gum, is that it has a heavy beneficial effect on the digestive system. And there was a European drug regulator. It's a company that actually approved mastic gum for digestive issues. So we often look at it for cleaning out the mouth, but this European company was doing research about how it actually reduced bacterial load. So they had a very controlled, placebo-controlled experiment, and they found that it reduced quite significantly the load of H. pylori in the digestive tract. H. pylori being that bacteria that actually can eat away at the lining of the stomach and some in the esophagus, even in the upper digestive areas, causing ulcers. And so it lowered the bacterial load and symptoms. It was so impressive from the research that they approved it. They basically suggested it, and they said that it was something that you could use for digestive issues like ulcers. Now, there's other claims. Some have said that it actually helped with Crohn's. But from that research, it was only from 10 people that it beat out the benefits of a drug that was supposed to help with Crohn's. But again, that's for more experimentation, more research. It has to be looked into more. Maybe we have more people with Crohn's that do try mastic gum. So if it helps with digestive issues like H. pylori, why not try to see if it can help heal up the gut lining, kill off the bacteria, and see if it actually can create benefits? Again, seek out and see if there's any known contraindications. I can't find it, but with all the great acids that I've seen and some of these beneficial essential oils, for those of you who love essential oils, I don't think it can hurt. So this is where you have to be really, objective about the research that you find about mastic gum. So if we can take the research done by this European company, it may give us some peace of mind about using it for digestive issues, helping reduce bacterial load. But there may be more research that needs to be done about the claims that it kills off cancer cells. Over the past few weeks, I've shared about WaveWatch, a sound frequency wearable designed to help your body rest, rebalance, and heal naturally. In my recent interview with John from WaveWatch, we discussed testimonies ranging from sleep and anxiety to tremors, kidney stones, and PTSD. The frequency sets are rooted in holistic health and frequency medicine. And there's an amazing sleep set designed to play all night, which is based on the Chinese medicine body clock, which will help your sleep excel. WaveWatch is family run by Linda, Joseph, and John, and they truly care about people's health beyond just a product. It's easy to use, non-invasive, and risk-free with a 30-day guarantee. Try today and get $100 off with code Dr. Motley at wavewatch.com/Dr. Motley. So even if we don't go down the route of how mastic gum affects cancer cells, the one thing we want to get from this podcast is how mastic gum could help clean out bad bacteria in the gut. And what makes it so impressive is the multiple components of the mastic gum. And what I mean by that is that mixture that we talked about before of all the essential oils and those acids. And what this does is it creates a shotgun effect. So if you have a certain type of bacteria in your gut, many times bacteria can get very antibiotic resistant. So you can take an antibiotic, and that antibiotic usually is targeting one type of bad bacteria. Does that make sense? Whether it's doxycycline or amoxicillin. Those antibiotics usually target certain types of bacteria. And what do the bacteria do eventually? They get resistant to it. They build up strength to it, or they hide. And so they get used to one specific type of antibiotic. They know what is coming at them. But if you have something like mastic gum that has multiple things that could kill the bacteria, they cannot adapt. So the bacteria can't adapt to it because there's so many components. There's multiple compounds within it. So it doesn't know how to defend itself against all of these little components like a shotgun coming at them. And so there's no adaptation energy of the bacteria that can withstand the multiple compounds of the mastic gum. Does that make sense? So whenever you have multiple bacteria that are bad, whether it's strep mixed with staph, Klebsiella bacteria, Campylobacter, you can have all of these, even E. coli, Salmonella, all of these things living in your gut. And you can take one antibiotic and try to kill all of those. That's very tough. But if you can throw many components in there and they can't adapt, you could start to see some of the bacteria start to fade. And so you are going to avoid these resistant types of bacteria if you could use something with multiple components. That is what makes plant medicine so cool. You have those multiple compounds that can dig into the cell walls of bacteria. Because bacteria, if you can break through certain areas within its cell wall, you can pry them open. You can basically open up their guts, they spill out, and they die off. You have to have the proper key or the proper pick to get into that lock. If you have one antibiotic, you have one pick to get into that lock, just one. If you have multiple compounds, you can have a multitude of keys that can get into the cell walls. You see the difference? So you're using something that can really go out and seek out and destroy. And that's why I love even some combinations of herbs, because if you use them, they don't allow the actual microbe to adapt. It keeps them confused. And so that's why I believe that they were seeing such good results with the mastic gum as compared to a single antibiotic. So as you look into the old writings of traditional Chinese medicine or European herbalism, the Far East has many writings of how they used tree resin as medicine. Remember, they have mastic gum within the Mediterranean. They also use frankincense and myrrh. And they use this to help clean up the stomach and the spleen. And why it's so important is because the stomach and the spleen is what they call the seat of vitality. It's where you break down your food, you digest it, you eventually put it into your intestines, and it gets absorbed into your bloodstream to get to your heart. So the stomach and spleen is so important because if you can't digest your food, you get no nutrients. If you ever have any sickness or bacteria in those areas, they will produce biofilms, mucus, and that mucus can hold a lot more dangerous things, such as parasites, other bacteria, even some viral components, and also mold and fungus. And those things can hide in that mucus plaque. So the tree resins, with all those multi-compound effects, can break open that mucus, that bacterial snot. And as you open it up, it allows your own immune system to go into it and actually kill it off. So they have seen within the old writings of what this did to the body, and now they're doing research, especially in many essential oil companies, of how these acids and how these oils really break open that mucus, that biofilm. Heavily researched. And people have reported that whenever they have used it, that when they go to the restroom, they see a mucus film come out in their bowel movements. They notice that there is an increase of vitality in their strength and energy. They also have seen and reported that sometimes they'll see a little parasite come out. But some of the biggest things that I've seen is just the way a person digests their meal and how much nutrients that it can affect their nutrient load within their body. Literally, if you can heal the bacteria in your gut, you're going to see all your nutrient levels start to get to balance. And that's why you start to want to mix this ancient medicine with New World medicine. I wish it was more the case, but it takes some of us some time to really research and dive in deep. And that's what I want you to do. Look into this because the ancient cultures reached for the tree resin and they used it to heal the gut. And if they have been using it for this many years, I think we can start now. So if you suffer from any type of oral issue, whether it be from bleeding gums, swelling gums, bad breath, sores within the mouth, constant cavities, or any type of unexpected pain within the gum line, or if you have upper digestive issues such as GERD, reflux, ulcers, biofilm, or any type of leaky gut, if you have those, why not give it a try? See if what they claim has any validity to it. And you can just try it for yourself. But there is research out there that tells us that, again, it helps kill off many types of bacteria and helps with biofilms. And I like to dig into trying things out to see if it works. But remember, there is a lot of supplement fakes out there. So you want to find a really solid, certified form of Mastic Gum. I always suggest to my patients that they find something from the actual chios mastic trees and find those that have actually been pulled from the area of Greece. That's what I would suggest because there's many fake powders out there. So do the research. Try to find a quality capsule for your gut. So remember, if you have digestive issues, I would recommend a capsule form. If you have oral issues, I would recommend that you get a gum and chew it for 20 minutes a day. And remember, if you have any types of allergy, such as to pistachio or cashew, the botanical family of cashew and pistachio is the same as mastic gum. So if you have allergies, I would avoid it. So I'm sorry about that. But if you don't, you could give it a shot and try it for a few weeks. Don't try to think it's going to happen within one day. You need to try it for a few weeks. That's where you could start seeing the real benefits. So don't get a mystery powder. Get the real deal from Chios. And there are so many good brands out there that I've seen. But remember, do the research for yourself. And even if it's just for the oral health, the gut health, helping your body clean out bacteria that could lead to ulcers, that would be worth it. And you know the reason that I wish I knew about mastic gum in the past was because when I was younger, I always had digestive issues. Always. And when I was getting into my early teen years, my dad wasn't fed up and angry, but my dad was concerned because I would always go into his room at night and tell him I had a gnawing pain in my stomach. Always. I literally would take a bottle of Gaviscon with me. Gaviscon, which is an antacid, with me to school. My teachers would let me keep it in my bag and I would drink it because I would have so much burning in my gut. Now, that came from a chronic yeast infections when I was younger from eating too much sugar. I also had chronic sore throats, which was strep, leaking down in my gut. All right. So I had those things in my digestive system. And I got an upper GI. And this was around the time that I got bit by ticks, but I can get into that story later about Lyme disease. But when I got the upper GI done, I drank this chalky fluid, and you had to drink like a bubbly drink and drink the chalky fluid. So it pushed that chalky fluid kept it up in my upper digestion. The bubbles and the gas kept it up in my stomach and in my esophagus, basically. And it was so tough. I had to keep it there and hold it there, and I couldn't burp while they did the viewing, while they took the scans. And they found a small ulcer in my stomach. So what did they do? They gave me Zantac, and I had to take that for almost 3 months. Apparently it helped, but it really didn't solve the problem because in 2017, I had a ruptured ulcer. And that's another story for another time. That area didn't get completely healed because the bacteria was still in there that was causing the problem. I didn't take anything to kill it off. You add in Lyme disease to it, and many years later, 2017, ruptured ulcer. So I know that's a story we can dig into, but I want to tell you that with that gnawing pain, if you have gnawing pain now, look into Mastic Gum. I wish I had it. I wish I could have taken some capsules because some of the testimonials are pretty amazing. But again, we're not saying that all the claims are supported by experimentation or had controlled placebo experimentation to prove that these claims are all true and repeatable. But there are a lot of experimentation that says many of those claims about digestive tract healing is pretty valid. So look for yourself, check out for yourself, because I know the pain of digestive issues, and anything that can help, I'm going to recommend to my patients. So here's where I land. Mastic Gum is one of those rare ancient remedies that really has earned its keep, in my opinion. Set aside the talk about how it affects cancer cells, because I think more research needs to be done before more claims can be made. But with all that said, its effect on the digestion has been very promising from what I've seen in the clinic and through research. And remember, it's about your gut and your mouth. It has a European company that basically regulated it for digestive issues, helping with ulcers. Also, it's helped with clean up the bacteria that causes cavities. And there's really promising early signals of how it helps heal the gut lining. So if you want to try it, try something from the actual chios island, the actual chios mastic tree. Find something that has a quality capsule. If you have digestive issues, use a gum if you need to clean up your oral area. And remember, if you have a pistachio or cashew allergy, you want to avoid it because it's in that same botanical family. Also, it doesn't replace the things that your doctor told you. You need to discuss it with them before you swap something out for your digestive health, before you swap it out for medication. Talk to your primary care doctor about this. So let's remember the lessons we learned today about how some experimentation was done in a glass dish as compared to in the human body. But we got some good info so we can make an objective view and an objective decision. So that's what this podcast is about. If you have anybody that has oral health, digestive health, or is questioning about Mastic Gum, send this their way. I really appreciate you watching. Subscribe if you like this type of content. I'm Dr. Motley. Let's chew on this.
Before we wrap up, please remember that the information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice. No doctor-patient relationship is formed through this podcast, and the use of information here or materials linked from this podcast is at your own risk. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health regimen, and do not disregard or delay seeking medical advice for any condition you may have. Our content may include sponsorship and affiliate links, through which we earn a small commission on sales made through those links. Thank you for joining us today on the Ancient Health Podcast. We hope you've gained valuable insights into the harmony between Eastern and Western medicine. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. Remember, true health is about balance, mind, body, and spirit. So stay tuned for more episodes where we continue to explore how ancient wisdom and modern science can work together to help you thrive. Here's to your health, balance, and well-being. I'm Dr. Chris Motley, and I look forward to our next episode together.